and balance energy and contend with energy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you feel carried by something, like it's very high and intense and sort of carrying you.
Yeah.
But then it's also a lot around you, and you have to cleanse yourself a lot and to ground, and yeah.
You have to stay on your toes, that's for sure.
Exactly.
So we're live on Facebook now, but we'll roll the show out in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, you really have to stay on your toes and keep yourself alert. And I don't mean that in a bad way, just because there's so much energy there. But it's also fascinating to me.
It is. It's just closing. Yeah. Okay. Closing.
There's so many. There's so many things just walking down the street that you run into. You know, crazy things and extraordinary things and unusual things. I don't know.
Exactly. Like it's very diverse. Yeah. Like it's a word in a city or something like that. Like you get to see all the sort of possibilities in life, right? Like a lot of power, a lot of money, a lot of like minorities and party and hitters and bankers, and it's a lot.
Were you staying in Manhattan?
I was staying in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn's nice.
Yeah. But I went there a year ago and I stayed in Manhattan. Interesting to see the difference between both, right?
Yeah. But I stayed in the Bronx and I really liked it. It was very ethnic.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like Europe. You know, you could walk down the street and you could get fruit and these little markets and yeah. So that was cool. Dollar pizzas. Yeah. That's all I had was $1. So I could get dollar pizzas every day. Piece of pizza for $1.
Yeah, that's such a crazy city, but so interesting. I mean, we could like study sociology and anthropology. Like you can do everything there. It's so wide, so diverse.
Absolutely, it is. Right on. So we've been having some problems, and it's not us. Well, I don't know if it is us or not, but there's been some problems with. Let me see what we got here. We got 6 people in the room, and let's see. There's been some problems for the last week. People are not able to sustain the stream. We got 22 people in the house. I've noticed it's kind of affected our numbers. Not that that's what we're out for, but I'm just telling everybody that if your video feed drops out, it's Facebook. I don't know if it's coming from our shows or if it's happening on lives everywhere, but we've been having this happen for about a week. So before we get started, I'm going to put the Zoom link onto the comments real quick. So just bear with me one second. And that way, if anybody wants to watch it uninterrupted, you can do that. Here's the Zoom link in the comments. All right. So let me pull Sophie back up. So I'm real excited. Hello, everybody. Jenny Haas from Sweden. Our friend Jania from Vienna. My friend Hone Edmonds. He's in Turkey. We need to get him back on. Anita Priams, the Netherlands. Zechariah Kral's here. I think he's out in Indonesia, Bali. Duncan Alexander, South Africa. Edina Costa, Yusuf Khan, Rose Gilbert, and a few other people I can't keep up. So thank you, everybody, for coming in. Sue Baxter Fitz says she's dropped out 5 times already. It doesn't come back to live. So the Zoom is there. If you want to come in fact, I'll pin the comment because it's been a problem for the last few days. I'm really excited to have Sophie Gregoire back on. She's an incredible divine feminine ball of energy, powerful but soft and intelligent and beautiful. And we were just talking. She's been in the United States, and I guess she couldn't come to Hawaii. That's really not even the United States, really. But so it's good to see you. I know you were traveling a lot, and it's been a pretty epic time since about the 20th of last month. You know, with that, what was it, a solstice and the full moon?
Yeah.
Seems like everything went into warp hyper speed.
I agree. Yeah, it's been like an interesting ride since we last connected here. Like very accelerated energies, and I'm just realizing it's hard for me to figure out things, like to exactly know what's going to happen. And it's always the same, but it seems to be bigger currently. I guess it's also the eclipse gateway. So yeah, it's been very active and very like surprising.
Hasn't it? I mean, like the first, what is it? Today's the 9th. So the first week of July was just, it was like, I don't know. It's like we all stepped into a different dimension. Everybody was saying it one way or the other. And a lot of people that have been doing it a long time, that are prominent, that have pretty big followings, like Amanda Lawrence, people that are very credible and subtle and quiet, but they put their stuff out, and they were all saying the same thing. How was it for you personally? Did you have any highs and lows, and did you have any?
Yeah, that's a big yes as an answer. Yeah, definitely. I felt like pushed to go in spaces within myself that I thought were cleared or already, cleansed and everything was purified or whatever, and go back to those spaces and feel something else, or come back to a wound and see that actually it wasn't like the work wasn't finished, which we know, like in the mind, we know that there is always more to do, always more to do and more to process. But when it happens, it felt a little surprising. Also the intensity of it, like and a little upset. So that's the right path. I think it was near the solstice, and June was intense for me too. I think it was the traveling. So you don't really have your things, and you don't exactly know when you're going to sleep and all that. So it adds up to the confusion in the air. But since the solstice in June, I've been deciding, okay, so let's just surrender fully to what's actually going on, rather than trying to invent or think your way through.
Or figure it out. Zachariah Cross says, literally, it was like reality was breaking down, so radical, ups and downs, so much. But what you're saying is what a lot of people said. They said, and it was in a different way, because I've heard it before, like I said, months ago. People would say, oh, why is that coming back up? I thought I cleared it. But this stuff was really deep. I mean, this stuff was like either you were unconscious of it and still unconscious of it and just had to process it or integrate it just from an energetic basis without any type of cognitive comprehension, just like, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to clear this. But some of this stuff, so people were saying, why did this stuff pop up?
Yeah.
How did it go so deep? Why is it so intense? And there was a tremendous amount of solitude. Even Morgan and I mean, there was, I think, 4 or 5 days, and it doesn't even matter why. We just both had to go into our space, and wow, it was intense, but it was also very validating, and a little bit relieving to see other people going through it, to not to think that it was just, me or whoever.
No, it's a collective, right? And that's so comforting at the same time. And I feel for me, every time is actually the same thing. I'm pushed to fully surrender and to just stop trying to, analyze, because I like to analyze. So maybe this is coming up because of this past experience, and maybe so the lesson is blah, 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 so I invent theories and I rationalize things. And it's like my mind is trying to create that, and then it doesn't work, and no theories is more valid than any other, and it's just about feeling and moving through things and just feeling what's going on. And then I just I let go. And it actually gets better, and we are always, I feel, redirected to something new. So even if it's tough and hard and it's hard to understand, there is always in something like a new understanding or a new event or a new person or something happens, and it gives it makes sense. It gives a meaning, and very often it's not what we were actually thinking of or expecting, right? So that's very like, it's very interesting. And also, even if I've been through that like for several years now, it tends to surprise me exactly in the same way every time it happens, you know? Yeah.
And you know, and then of course living with someone who's a lot like you, Morgan, it's like you guys get this, you get it first. Like if I see it happening to her, if I see, and I don't even have to know what it is, if I just see the energy coming, I immediately go on alert. I'm like, okay, get ready. You know, something. But what you said is true too, and we've talked about it. It's not even like we don't have to understand anymore. It's really, like you said, it's all feeling. You feel something, and you might just have to go sit down and be quiet, or go for a walk, or just really shut the mind off. That analytical part, I don't think it's allowed in this telepathic frequency that we're moving into. You know?
Exactly. And it just doesn't work. And it's almost like a distraction at some point. Like it's or like a safety net, something we try to use or to go back to not actually go through the process that's actually going on. But it doesn't work. And definitely, and it's like I'm like originally like a thinker and all that, so I've struggled a lot in past years with the thinking piece and theories and making sense of everything. But every time I'm reminded, don't do that. Just you can only move through it and just, you know, surrender and ride the wave, and then it always ends up making sense.
The surrender, purge to the surge. Well, that's another thing too, is for me anyway, we were talking about on the show yesterday, is that now, and it gets intense, and I don't know if dark's the right word, but it could be, you know, it just gets really like intense. That now they don't last as long, but man, they feel like they last forever, because it's like you're stuck in the mud or something. I can't explain it. But I am starting to get to the point now where even in that time when it's brutal, I know, okay, well, that means something really big's coming. And it doesn't make you feel like, it doesn't make you like all happy and stuff, but at least it's registering. I'm like, okay, I can handle this. It's not, you know, and I'll admit it, you know, over the years, suicidal thoughts. I want to get out of here. The hell with this. I'm done, you know, but I'm not really having that. I wanted to ask you, so with all this happening, are you getting a sense of, regardless of how intense it's been, it's and how fast it's moving, are you getting a sense of something? I mean, I feel something really, really abundant, you know, and really, really huge, like a really big, I don't want to say a collective elevation, but at a minimum, like a group, like, you know, people talk about wave showers or Blu-rays, but like there is some type of minority in the collective at a minimum that seems to really be expanding. Are you feeling that?
I'm feeling that we have those very brief, it's getting, I definitely agree with you, it's getting very brief, like very short in time. And I guess it's also because we allow it more, you know, without resisting, because like in the first months or years, it's so hard to allow it because it's very intense and deep and it can be so dark. So we resist it, so it takes a lot of time. But now it's getting faster. And I feel that wave after wave, we tend to feel that we are sort of going somewhere else, you know, even if it may not really make sense. And on the other side of it, there is always something better. Like even every wave sort of brings something else, something better. Maybe it's about trusting more the flow, trusting more that money is going to come and abundance is present, or just seeing abundance more with different eyes, you know. Like I've been thinking of them like the money piece lately a lot, and how we can shift the paradigm from you know, the patriarchal way of making money and belonging to the mold and society rules and all that, from becoming sovereign beings able to generate money, but also in a healthy, conscious and respectful way. So it's such an interesting topic, right? Because this is the piece that keeps I feel many people, like many of us and many people in general, in the old paradigm, like the fear around abundance and being provided for and all that. So it's very interesting to see that we, like, circumstances, like in the physical, tend to change, but also the way that we see things change as well. And the trust that we have in the flow of money, and also like connections and finding the right people, the right tribe. And it's like being always provided for in the ways I feel mostly around abundance and around like tribe connections, relationships of any kind. And I think we tend to see time after time that there is always something better after. So we tend to trust more. And so it allows more abundance in all ways, and sort of it opens a lot, right?
Yeah. Did you, because you mentioned earlier when you came to the States in June, that, you know, you were going through all this stuff, and on top of that, you had the pressure of your traveling. Where am I going to stay? You know, da 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 da. Did you experience that on your trip to the United States? Did you experience that abundance in the moment and those things falling into place as you went about, you know, your travels?
Yeah, I did. And this is the part I like with the traveling, because every time it can get a little confusing and tricky. And I wonder, okay, so maybe I should go there, maybe go there. And again, it's the mind trying to figure things out, but then it just unfolds like because someone says something, or like, for example, when I got there, I was first going to North Carolina, and like a flight was delayed. And so I was upset, but eventually I went to the guy, like, you know, the like organizing flight, who's, I think it was American Airlines or United, I don't remember. And they gave me another ticket that was actually sooner and easier, and just one flight instead of two, you know, like everything was just unfolding perfectly, right?
Yeah.
And like moment after moment, you feel sort of carried by something, and the more you trust, the more you're just going to the right place and meeting the right people. Or even if it's not always easy, or like the right thing happening, or the thing you were expecting, there is always like a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
So yes, I did feel that. And then I went back to New York City after going more to the south, and same, I was very supported in different ways.
Yeah, and then there's that other element too. I don't know if you've experienced this, where like you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go over here, or I'm going to go do this or do that, and then things just happen, and it's like the universe is telling you, no, you're not going to do that. You know, like you know what I mean? I mean, I've had it happen to me, and it's like, no, you're just not going to do that. It's not going to happen, and everything you try to do in that plan just goes, it just collapses. You know, and you're like, you're not going there. You know, you're just not going to do it. So I think that's
exactly. And I'm seeing that the more we close doors and just think something is going to unfold in that way, would it be a trip, a relationship, like anything, work, purpose, like the way we want to share our gifts or anything, every time we get sort of stuck and too stubborn and too, oh, this is exactly the way it's going to go, you know, like very clear and very like assertive, and this is what's going to happen. It's not the right thing, right? Like when we force too much or push too much or have like so many expectations about something, I'm seeing in times that it tends to not exactly be the right thing. And your question about the travels made me think of a trip I had, I think it was 3 years ago in the States. Before I was in Asia, and then I decided to travel to the States. I had different people to see, several friends. And exactly as you said, I thought I was going to stay in California, and it never happened. You know, I was like called to, I remember it was Idaho and Montana, which was never expected. You know, I never thought I was going to go there. And
Idaho. I can't imagine.
I know.
Nothing against Idaho, but if you went in anything but the summer, it's cold, isn't it? I mean, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, it was summer.
Summer, yeah. Well, it's beautiful up in the summer. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Now, are you picking up? I know you connect daily, and you document a lot of the stuff that you connect. Are you picking up anything that we're not addressing or that we're not talking about, or do you have any feelings intuitively or not of what we're stepping into in the next, you know, even days or weeks?
Yeah. I do feel, so the surrender thing comes to me a lot, but we talked about this before, meaning it's really unnecessary right now, like to attach to anything too much or to sort of cling to anything, because I'm feeling words like fated events, or synchronicities, or things we were not expecting and we cannot even fathom right now. So first of all, I'm feeling this, and then it's Mercury retrograde, so I'm noticing with myself and also with several people, clients, things from the past coming back and being really reassessed differently. For example, the way we can be attached in relationships, and seeing now that things could be different from a less attached and more evolved or conscious perspective, like memories coming back, or even people coming back, and seeing that I'm feeling this big thing, but I'm sure I don't know if it's really the energy of today, but sometimes several people connect for like a friendship connection, whatever, and then things don't like churn out in the right way or in the highest way, and they think, oh, it was her or it was him. But then they part ways and they come back together, and it's totally different, and the right thing happens, and a real collaboration. I'm thinking of girlfriends for work or romantic connections. Like everything is different because both people have grown and evolved. And I really feel this with this summer energy. Like new energies with old things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like coming back together on a higher ground, at a higher place,
Exactly.
and I see that too, because it seems like, okay, like I think it was the first part of June, and people were making comments about it. There was some projection and judgment. So there was like, with Soulogy or with Todd, that there was some projection, and so therefore people were judging. But I did the same thing. I turned around and said, oh, those people are, these people are like, throwing mud on me. And so I started intensifying this process of going to their pages and looking at them until I could integrate them. And at least at that moment, see them as equal as possible to me, as a mirror. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
To your point, now that's just one person's example, but I think that's the energy you're talking about, because I admit I was triggered. I've been more conscious of my triggers, but what's been leading me back to is oneness is oneness, and so if I'm looking at somebody in judgment, that's my own arrogance that I haven't healed, my own superiority that I haven't healed, and that seems to be running rampant, or not rampant, but it seems to be very much evident in, let's call it, light worker circles, the same type of piousness that you see in religious circles. But my point is, to what you were saying, is that it seems like you're starting to see these separations come back on a higher ground where both sides have evolved, whether they're conscious of it or not. So that's a very good sign. Yeah, I think that's
exactly.
Yeah,
I definitely agree. And I've seen very personally that the people, this is something that we know intellectually, that the people that trigger you the most are also the most important teachers, or the ones that are here to make you evolve to the highest level and all that. So we know that intellectually, but when it happens in the physical and actually someone triggers you like massively, because they tell you some very big truths about something or whatever, I think other people, we tend to really push that away because this is something we cannot hear and we're not ready to feel or whatever. But I'm feeling a lot this past weeks or past days more, and around this summer energy, this really shifting to like a lot of work has been done, I feel, most since the last Mercury retrograde. I don't really like to, use, like, I like astrology, but I don't like to sum things up with a retrograde or whatever, because I think it's more complex and we don't have to ride those energies. So it tends to be different for everyone. However, I think that since the last retrograde, a lot happens fast. And then we tend to have the opportunity to see with new eyes what we did, what we said, the way we reacted. Yeah, because very often when something happens very fast, it's also a form of either we're carried by a big energy and a big movement, or we're reacting to something that we don't really know how to handle.
Yeah.
So sometimes like speed is not the best, like the best thing. And we tend to see in time that stillness, and this time also like a lot is processed and it's very intense, but also it's still, I feel, in the sense that we have a window to feel into things and just be present with them, not really attached to anything, but allow them and then see after what we want to do from there.
Yeah, like take a breath. Take a few breaths.
Yeah,
Take
exactly.
a nap. Take a nap, take a walk.
Yeah.
Watch a movie, whatever.
Go for a walk and we'll see after. We'll talk after. You know?
Yeah. And another thing too, I know for me was, and I only say this stuff because I think it is in the collective. As the individual goes, so goes the collective. But I know, like at the first of the month of July, and I don't even know what happened. I was being effective, and I had a couple of shows, and I got a little rowdy. You know, I got a little rowdy, and if you really paid attention, because it's funny because the shows did very well, but people that know me very well knew that I was acting out, that I was projecting, that I was imbalanced, right? And it was brought to my attention, and it was a very humbling thing, you know. It was very humbling. So anyway, I think I got up in the morning, maybe the next morning or something, and I projected on Morgan, and it wasn't like really loud, but it was projection is projection, right?
Yeah.
So, but what I'm trying to say, and this is encouraging for me because it can't just be me. You know, we've taken these high energies and we're connected at a high level, all of us, for many, and that affects the ego, that affects the physical body and so on. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying on a collective level, as an individual, I think that particular morning, and then I knew just to get out. So I took a walk and I started walking, and I got up to the top of the hill. And what jumped into me was, of course, I knew at some level what I did. And then I said, it was like compassion. It was like compassion came in, and I said, okay, now that you know that's there, you can either, you can hang on to it and drag it over, drag it like a bag of groceries with you, or you can just leave it there, right? And that's what I did. And that's not been something I've been able to do. I don't know how other people are, but I've been able to have compassion for other people to a certain degree. But at this point, first part of when this happened, 1st of July, I started to actually have compassion for myself, almost like I was looking at myself from the outside in. And when that happened, it was easy. It equaled itself, in the mirrors of my existence as well. People that I would run into online or whatever the case was. So I think that's a good sign for me. The judgment being a door to your own unknown or unconscious arrogance, and then the compassion for yourself, because you can only be compassionate to the degree in regard to others that you are for yourself. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. Yeah.
And I know for a lot of you Divine Feminine, this is old school stuff, but I'm just telling you, I'm just really starting to get this. And I live with somebody who's very attuned and has been for a long time. But you've got to actually experience something to actually understand it or feel it or embody it. You can be told all day long, but until you actually, your whole body, all your collective bodies get it, you don't get it.
Yeah. It's interesting because even if like sometimes we make mistakes, like, you said all the compassion piece, and sometimes we say something or we do something and we regret it because we were triggered, or it was a reaction, it wasn't like a healthy response or whatever. At the same time, we can only experience forgiveness of the self or of another when we go to those places. So I'm seeing that sometimes I have those regrets and I'm like, why did you say this? Why didn't you take more time before you said anything? Or why you went too fast or whatever. But that's also the only way to actually feel that and to go in those very deep places and to touch those also traumatic pieces And I've seen myself changing about also some of my past writings or things that I see. For example, all those energies around having very clear boundaries and having very clear, I'm like my self-worth is higher, or I cannot allow this in my space, all those things.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see them also sometimes as reactions that we have from within, like we're very, very deeply triggered or massively touched in a very deep place. And so we tend to see, oh, I'm worthy of more. While it's also because this traumatic piece within was never touched before, and it's touched now, and it's creating this massive response. But then after a few days, it just dissolves, and we tend to see, oh, okay, so it wasn't really a matter of worth or a matter of ego or matter of I deserve more, but also just this space was meant to be touched, and it is touched now, and it wasn't touched before.
It's like, it's like, okay, in the past, we used to have like Morgan says, you can't, the first step to transformation, she says, is awareness. So then, like in the old days, we would go awareness and then integrate or process or invocate or whatever, mantras or whatever, and then transform. But it's it's like now, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it's like once you actually have the awareness and you kind of like state that in your mind, or you're just aware, it seems to, that's what I think you're saying, is it just starts to shift. It may not happen like instantaneously, but over a period, a day or two or whatever the case is. Yeah, I get what you're saying. The other thing that I noticed, which makes me wonder, and I just remembered while you were talking a second ago, and I kind of been seeing this the last 3 or 4 or 5 days now, but I'm thinking, and I know Morgan had mentioned this to me for the beginning of the month, that it's some type of masculine thing. And I'm not saying that that's unique to the men only, but the reason I'm saying that, and I'm talking about these really deep-rooted things that were coming up that were really intense that you were referring to at the top of the show. Because what's happened to me over the last few days, and I just remembered what happened last night, I'm having these intense lucid dreams. Well, I don't want to say intense. They're very right. They're very clear. Like they're very clear, and the message is very clear. And for me, like I'll tell you about the one I had that I just remembered that I had last night. It was my father and my other family members, but the father was the focal point. And if I go back to 3 or 4 nights before, it was the father and the sons. So like my boys and my father, or my father and my brother and my boys. And my father was a central character energetically. That's a metaphor.
Yeah.
So it's nothing about him personally, but what came out of it was my own guilt, my own arrogance, my lack of compassion, my superiority, and altogether my separation created by myself. But it felt like, to your point, that as I realized them, they're actually being released, or they're signs that they've been released. So it's, so that really, really resonates what you said about being aware like that.
I agree. So I felt a lot of with myself and some women I work with, very vivid dreams in past days with very strong insights, and almost like a direction is being given during the night. I'm seeing that the more I go, the more sleep I need also, and physical exercise, not really like workout or sport or even, yoga or anything like that, anything very specific, like really body movement, almost like during the night, a lot is being processed and a lot is happening. And I tend to wake up, and if I don't have a walk, even like a short one, or move or something, I feel like a lot is blocked and I need to do something with it. And I feel the more I go, and we go as a collective energy, we process a lot very physically and very quickly. And the more it goes, the less the mind is involved. I remember many years ago, I would journal and write a lot and try to really understand and connect mind and body and heart, all this, and really trying to find the right words. And now it moves very fast, and it doesn't need the right words or right spelling. It's very energetic. Like there is anger, or there is sadness, or there is like a vision, and it's a big energy, and it's being felt at the body level. And then we move, or I don't know, something very physical happens, or something with someone else or whatever, and it shifts or it goes beyond something or whatever. But the more it goes, the more it's very physical, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. Yeah, that makes total sense. And then I was just looking at this note. John Hood, thank you, John. He said, yeah, waking up exhausted sometimes. Now, I've noticed this. Well, this is what reminded me of it, is you said we're doing a lot of work at night when we're in dream state. You know, we're clearing a lot of stuff. All over the last few years, I've known when I was out working energetically and working in the ethers. But man, most of the last, not every day, but most of the last few days, there is almost like I wake up and my mind's alert. I'm on the planet with my mind, but my body is like physically depleted. Like I can't even explain it. It's like everything in my body's been overhauled. I feel like I feel like a bag of bricks, and I've got to like force myself to get up. Now, once I get up, I'm okay. You know, if I put water in my face, take a shower or something, but I feel like my body's just physically depleted. My thought is that there's some intense physical, biological transformations happening in the body at a much quicker pace and a more comprehensive pace than before.
I'm really witnessing this too. Like some mornings I wake up. So first of all, as I said before, I need to do something kind of fast. Otherwise, I feel sort of trapped into the energies of the night. Like something is not clear, you know, if I just have breakfast or whatever, I need to do something with like shower or working out or whatever. And I wake up some days with a clear insight or like a clear draw to say something or to write something or to post something or to call someone, you know, like very like this has to happen, you know, like very clear vision. While before it would need like a few hours or even days of, oh, I'm not sure, you know, this type of energy, like reassessing. And now it tends to go faster, as if we were really like embracing a flow. And we have to, like, the most important is to allow the flow rather than anything else.
It's like it's like even like we were talking about the lucid dream. These lucid dreams are so clear. Like you have a dream and you go, what does that mean? I wonder, you know, and you go through a process, whatever your process is, try to figure out what did that mean and what did this symbol mean and what did that mean in my dream. But these dreams are so clear. Like as soon as I wake up, like I know what this is about. I know that I may not know specifically like for the brain, but I do know I just cleared this. It's got something to do with the father or the masculine or this or that. And then the same goes with what you're saying. I think it's the same thing where you wake up and then there's like no separation or no break between the subconscious or unconscious dream state mind to the conscious awake mind. You just here's what I need to do. It's like you programmed yourself and you woke up and you knew exactly what was programmed, you know, on the injury.
Exactly.
I think these are good signs.
Yeah, me too. It can be a little surprising, or we don't always know what to do with it, but when we surrender this type of question, interrogation, and sort of worries, fears, and all that, it tends to happen in the right direction.
And it also feels like, and I don't want to get into all that discussion, but as far as like the global scene, you know, be it the politics in the U.S. or what's going on in where was it? Is it Hong Kong? Even France? Some of these transitional, somewhat tumultuous things that are happening, these things that are kind of extreme social change starting to happen. I mean, it seems like there's something going on there, which would only make sense as it's a mirror of what's happening inside of us. But there's some things that really look like they're starting to bubble up to the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's reaching a peak, or like a moment when something has to collapse or to really fall.
Yeah.
I'm seeing in Europe, and well, France is like, as far as politics are concerned, the place I know the most, of course. We tend to change things very slightly because people are resistant to change. So we tend to, of course, there are many reasons that we do that, right? We tend to be attached to many systems that were built when economics were different and globalization was different and many things were different. But we tend to attach, even if we know that the context is completely different now at a European level, a global level, and many things, right? But we tend to attach to them, and the more we do that, it's almost like an energy sometimes we have within, like we resist something, like we resist and we attach to the past, and it's like it has like this type of very dark energy, also very intense and very attached. But the more we do that, it doesn't help, because it just sort of grows the drama behind it, and then when it collapses, it's really strong. And this is something that I've been seeing in Europe, like the way we are in an old way of functioning, even if I'm sure in the same in the States for different reasons or in many places in the world. But for us, it's really like a lot of things are stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And every time someone is offering something different, it's never smooth. It's so long to be listened to be heard, to trigger change and to be accepted, and all those things, which I'm sure is the same everywhere. But yeah. But I'm definitely seeing here a real change, like a real almost turnaround. With we have the right wing and the left wing, and all this is dramatically changing and tremendously being reshaped. So I don't exactly know where it is going and how people are going to respond to that, but it's definitely a turnaround, and it doesn't seem to be able to be stopped in some way.
No, and that's what I was reflecting on too. I was going to read this comment Michelle put up. Michelle Bruce, she's, oh my God, keep talking. You guys verbalize what we all are going through, all of it. I don't think it's really us. I think what I'm getting out of this episode with Sophie is this happening with the same things happening to all of us, and it's there's evidence of it, and this is what needs to happen. We just need to talk about what we're experiencing, and that's somehow or another expanding us. But yeah, I agree with what you said about that. It's and then if you look at the earthquakes, and these other things that are happening, they're paralleling it too. So it's, I don't know, I guess part of me, the biggest part of me says we got this. We got this because of this type of energy, like this vortex right now with these 40 or 50 people in us. You know what I mean? This is actually a power center, a vortex of strength and power and purity and high intention and unconditional love. You know what I mean? Transformation. It's expansion. It's as opposed to like what you're saying, which would be like what we know. Like, okay, that makes me comfortable. It's not exactly the best situation, but I'm going to go ahead and stand back over here where I've been and accept this normalcy. But these energies aren't very forgiving. Once you become aware of something, they will let you know, or you can call it karma or whatever, but you can be sure that it's going to come in really fast and really hard if you're going against yourself. It is. It's not going to let you go against yourself. It's not going to do it.
No. Yeah, and I like to trust that we are brought towards more dharma at an individual level and collective level. So even if it's hard or unexpected or we don't understand or whatever, will it be for us or for the masses, I do strongly trust that we have many tower moments, like the tarot card where everything collapses very fast. But after this, it's meant to bring more and more dharma, more and more alignment with the authentic self of the individual, or like the couple or the friendship or whatever. I'm already feeling this accelerated movement, like layer after layer, and we're going to the right place. And even if you have many tower moments, there are just things you have to move through so that you can get to the end. Like, for example, you're a student and you have many exams, and then you have the final exam and you're super happy, but you had to go through all the little exams to like September, October, you know what I mean? So it's like a process. And I feel also it's very humbling for everyone, and especially for way showers and people like myself or everyone that sort of has a that channels or shares something or guides others or works with others. Like, all those things we're doing is very humbling to always remember that we've never arrived for the work, for the like relationships, for what we think it should look like. And for me, like, a big change has happened around France and the way I see it. I've been thinking for like many years I had to live abroad and I have to be somewhere different, and I had to travel all the time and maybe live, I don't know, in Asia or in the US or wherever almost. And the more I go, the more I see that this is like a mirroring thing, and also it's not a real issue for myself. And as long as we can find the authentic self within and really embody who we are, we can actually be more or less, not anywhere because we want to find the right energy and the right alignment, but we can sort of come back home as well. So it's been interesting for me to witness this change within myself, and how like nothing is really long term, even if when we start to be like a strong conviction or strong belief, this can be reshaped like any time, right?
Resistance or attachment. That's another one somebody pointed out to me. Somebody pointed out to me the other day, don't resist. I'm not resisting anything anymore. Just, on one hand you're surrendering, but on the other hand it's like, well, if you resist it, that's like, just like holding, if you're holding on to a conviction, you're resisting something. You know what I mean? Because you're resisting the other side of it. So it's like it to me, it's like beyond surrender now. It's like, free energy, free souls, free universe. Free is free.
Yeah,
free is
exactly.
100% open. 100%.
Open is the word. I like that word. It's very important.
Yeah, you're right. So, is there anything you're up to? What are you going to be up to in the near future? This is your. I don't know. Yeah, that's true. Sorry, dumb question. But anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to do? If you want to connect, I mean, anything that you want to share? Any further commentary that you might have? And then let me ask you first, as we lead into it. Now, do you do sessions with people?
Yeah.
You do sessions with people one-on-one online?
Exactly.
Okay. And so how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so they can get in touch like via, of course, Facebook Messenger, for example, like all those things. But I also have like the website, the priestessalchemy.com.
What's it called? What's it called?
The priestessalchemy.com. Where they can find the different types of sessions and readings also that I do. I also do intuitive astrology. So different services. Like, the thing people like the most often is a guidance session, because we have 1 hour and we can like share about what's going on for them and the energies and what's the right direction at some moment, or something that's coming up, or some wounds or trauma, whatever. So I tend to have like an eclectic approach based on what's actually going on. And then I have more specific sessions for soul purpose, like all around the mission. This is not this one.
No, it's not that one.
So no, it's not mine. So mine is going to be the Priestess. So there is the priestessalchemy.com.
Let me try this. The Priestess.
Yeah.
Alchemy?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's fine.
Let me get rid of this.
Okay.
Oh, there you were. I just saw you. Yeah. Yeah. I love your whoever your
it's very the website is very like feminine energy, right? It's very like the private sessions one. So there is one around soul mission and how to really step into your power and your true self and your mission for the collective, and how to embody this authentic self that you have, and also find your power, right? Because we want to surrender and we want to embrace the energies and all of that, but we also want to embody this sort of ethereal and very energetic and very light things that we are in the very physical, and connect this to sacred work and also abundance and where we want to live and what we want to do and how we help others in a very practical manner. So this is this type of session. And then I have two other ones about love and romantic connections, and you know, like, of course, I think it makes sense. And another type around very feminine sessions around sacred sexuality and sensuality, and allowing, you know, all this in your life and feeling worthy of also this type of blessings and abundance as well, which I feel is very important, to feel that we deserve. We have to reclaim, I believe, all those different pieces that we deserve, purpose and like abundance, and being able to provide for ourselves, and being in joy, and being and finding sacred union, and, you know, finding this and this and that. So even if it's like a journey and a road, it's always nice to have like this type of vision for ourselves. So this is what I do.
And you know, I got to say that's very important. And of course, I know this is more designed for the feminine, but the sensuality, the sacred sexual power, is a very, very important part of what's going on. I mean, I'm mostly on camera, but you know, Morgan and I are open about our sacred union and our sacred sexuality. And I just got to say, as a man incarnated, that it's the most powerful thing I've ever been introduced to. It's the I'll give you an anecdote versus trying to explain it. I can't explain it, but every time we have an experience, it's a whole new world. And last night, something happened, and I've got to believe that it's an encouraging sign for the rising masculine. And that was reaching a point where the level of heart openness from the masculine reached a point where there was an explosive elevation. I've never. I'm going to say this because I want to help, especially the masculine, not because I'm prejudiced or biased, but because I know it's a different road, and it's a confusing road. But I started the night out. We could feel the energy coming in. I was like, "What is going on?" And I started to tell her that about my journey on the sacred sexuality, and I said, I've been stripped of everything, and I've talked about that. But I said, I actually feel powerless, like I've got no power left. And I realized in that moment, just in talking to her, that was the best place I could be, right? And so, energetically speaking, and I'm just saying this because I want to stress the importance to, I mean, obviously the feminine are much more attuned to it, but to the masculine, how important it is. It's a part of our journey that we're not going to be able to avoid. I never cry. I've never cried in my life prior to intimacy. And I did last night. And it was the most incredible interdimensional, inner space, joint, sacred experience I've ever had in my life. And I just want to say, man, there's hope out there for us, but we got to be honest about it. And it's an important part of this. And you know what? The thing about sacred sexuality, there's no really how to. but it is all about the heart. It's all about feelings, and it's an incredible, powerful thing. And I think it's
I
gonna
agree.
be a big game changer. The more men that can step into it. So thank you
Yeah.
all, the Divine Feminine, for holding that space and holding that field of purity, even if you didn't understand it and you just knew what you needed to do, because that's pivotal for what's happening. Yeah. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're doing those sessions, and I didn't know you were. And I'm sorry to take all your time up with what I had to say, but
No. I think it's very important. And
yeah,
I believe that in the collective, maybe we don't speak of that enough. I feel that we speak when I say we, it's like the collective in general. Like sex, it's something that we speak a lot often, like all the pleasure, piece of it. And then we speak of love and the heart and opening the heart and compassion. And we tend sometimes to see those two things as two different things. Well, actually, the more sexuality and the emotional piece can be understood as one thing, and as actually an energy that's moving in the body and with someone else also, but primarily within. When we really not understand, because it cannot be really understood, but it's lived once or twice or more or whatever, then it tends to be like, it tends to happen more and more. And I feel once we've connected with this type of connection or experience with someone, it's very hard to come back to this dichotomy between the heart and the sexual piece, right? And I've been witnessing within myself and others, all this heart chakra real expansion, and in the masculine as well, meaning this allowance of really feeling deeply. And all those tantric things that we read about, and all the breathing, so the woman gives love, and so like all these things. So I remember seeing those themes like a few years ago and be like, oh, that's interesting, but not really understanding how this was working. But it does work that way, really. Like there is all the wave that's going there. And so it's very interesting. And a big, I feel like a big opening at a collective level too, to allow this, to receive this on both sides.
I got to believe that in some way her and I anchor certain things, like a lot of people. We're not special or anything, but that was really profound. And what you said is true. Once you go there, you can't go back. So there's two things that are coming to mind, and that's why I love the job that I have, because the most beneficial things come in the spontaneous, vulnerable, raw. But one thing I notice is, first of all, I've really been applying myself on a conscious level, not to go into performance or not to do the patterns or behaviors from the conditioning of what we've experienced. And I thought I was doing a really, really good job, and I probably was. You know what I mean? But something shifted dramatically. Shifted dramatically, and what I realize now is that, it literally two different worlds. They're light years away. A traditional 3D old paradigm sexual intimacy versus what I'm just now in nursery school or kindergarten, but I can see it's light years, eons difference in time. But what I notice is that the heart doesn't speak. The mind speaks, but in these moments, the heart doesn't speak. So there is nothing going on at all in my head. Everything is instinctive. Everything is like at one time primordial, erotic, sensual, wisdom. It's all of these components in one, and it's also got incredible physical, biological,
intelligent, like
your body just you're literally having a near-death experience, basically.
No, I agree with that. And I feel it's really anchored in the heart, like really there. And then from there, the energy flows within the self and with another.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you mentioned performance and you said the masculine is working on that maybe, or you thought this came to your mind or whatever, but it's also a feminine thing,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So what I mean is sometimes also we tend to make this dichotomy between men and women, like men have all this performance thing and women were not loved in the highest way, all this, but women do that too. And so it's good also to bring back this balance. And all this receptivity that a woman can offer is also what allows the masculine to step there. So it's really like a dance. I like to see this as a dance.
It's exactly
I have a lot to say about this, but I'm sure we're getting maybe out of time. I don't know.
No, it's an important subject.
Yeah.
We got a few more minutes. You want to keep going? Or do you need to go? You need to go.
No. I don't need to go. I don't remember what I wanted to say. Yeah, I just feel it's super important to speak about this and really take it on board of all this ascension thing.
Yes.
And just like seeing that all this sexuality is not different from a spiritual experience with someone, but also the more I go, the more I see that you cannot be in sacred union fully if you cannot have that peace. It doesn't have to be like it's not about, oh, I deserve this or I deserve to be fulfilled, it's not that. It's more like a work, like all the rest. It's like a dance also on that level, and it needs to be brought on board as everything else in life. I feel it's really important to include that in this work we're doing of shedding old beliefs and layers and shifting everything that we are and allowing more flow, more freedom. And how can the flow be at its fullest if it doesn't include this part of ourselves, which is so powerful, right? Because so many misuses of power, misuses of like dependence in relationships, like it is so powerful. Sexuality is so powerful that if it's not tackled or spoken about or shared about, it's going to be like the massive thing that has so much power that's like hidden under the carpet, right?
And that's why I brought it up. Because I realized, and I have, but now I realize even at a expanded level, I realize that, well, it's like the ultimate evidence, the ultimate physical representation of the etherical power that we have. It's the ultimate validation. It's the ultimate identifier or measure of where are you at, because everything that's like the what am I trying to say? That is like the most pure representation of our efforts here, transforming ourselves in this realm, and everything goes from there, like you said. So if the sexual balance or imbalance is off balance, then everything else is going to be too. By the same token, is if you can get, when we get in there and we really align with that little central point within the 0 point, because that's the merging of the physical and the non-physical. When we do that, that's the most powerful thing we can do. You don't have to tell the universe what you want. You don't have to tell somebody that you love them. You don't have to try to be a nice person. You don't have to try to be an alchemist, magician, or a healer. You will have all of that universal code in alignment, and it's expressing itself in a way that's never really been done before. I mean, we're expanding the template of pure love. And that
I agree.
Yeah.
I like when you said ultimate, because in some ways the ultimate like level of embodiment or something like that, because the sexual energy is also life force energy, and it's driving many things in the world, would it be in workplaces, in, of course, in relationships, like anywhere, in family. It's like it's the root and the cause of so many behaviors. because it's life force, and because when the Kundalini thing is open, then it's like so much is going on, right?
Yeah.
So if it's not sort of understood and embodied or lived in the way that's also evolving towards more and more consciousness as everything else, like something major and incredibly strong and powerful is left on the side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She just walked in the door. Yeah. So, God, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you.
Yeah. Same. Thank you, Todd.
I look forward to doing it again with you. I wish you the best of luck. Let me show everybody one more time. This is the year of sovereignty and expansion, collaboration, co-creation. So obviously we all know Sophie's very, very connected, and I'm sure, in fact, a couple of people actually told me that they hooked up with her, and we know she's legitimate. So, this is what we got to do: all walk the talk, support each other, have equal energy exchanges. That's the only commerce that matters, equality in the universe. But visit her website, Priestess Alchemy, and if it resonates, hit her up and arrange a session. And as you can see, they're very reasonable. So thanks a lot. You take care.
Thank you, Todd.
See you.
And I'll speak to you. I think we'll speak again in August or.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.